everyone, to launch day of Corporate Dropouts. I am Raewyn Guerrero, one of the co-authors of this multi-author book, and I'm so delighted to share this amazing moment in all of our lives with you. And we're delighted that you've decided to be part of this with us, because it is, a collection of stories of empowerment of women who have broken the mold, who have taken the leap, who have found inspiration and strength when other people would have told them, don't do it. In fact, I remember clearly when I wanted to leave my job, my mom was like, don't do it. She's like, you have a pension. What are you doing? Don't do it. So, the fact that we are here today, it's 5 years for me since I began this journey of entrepreneurship. And it's very, very exciting that, the book is live. It's been birthed. It's in the world. It's out there. It's making waves. And I want to introduce you to my co-authors. We've got Dr. Piper Gibson, who is a fellow functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. And we've got Rai Cornell, who is are you over in Texas, Rai? Yeah.
So Lubbock, Texas.
Yeah. And Piper, where are you?
I'm in Las Cruces, New Mexico, but next time I'm in Amarillo. We're going to meet up, Rai.
Yes.
And if anybody wants to come to Cabo, you can come to Cabo. Because that's where,
Mexico much prettier than our destinations.
They're all beautiful. I love Texas. Love. And love New Mexico as well. So Piper, do you want to talk about your chapter and what inspired you and give people a little bit of insight into your journey? And then we'll move on to Rai.
Yeah, absolutely. So my chapter is titled From Jeans to Genes, and it really talks about the journey of, I wanted to be a fashion designer since I can remember. I had always wanted to be a fashion designer, and I worked in the fashion industry and I hated every minute of it. It was not the glamorous, glitzy, what you see on TV at all. And when my son got sick when he was 6 years old, so he's 16 now, it's been quite a while. I just went down the rabbit hole of holistic natural health, trying to help him because conventional approaches really failed us. We weren't seeing the success we wanted to see with his symptoms. And so I went back to school. I really relearned everything I thought I knew about health and wellness. I became a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. I went on and gathered all the doctorates that I could so that I could learn all these things and help my son. And when we saw big changes in his health, people started coming to me saying, well, how can you help me? How can we make these changes? And then I knew that it was time to be like, goodbye, corporate world. These people really need this support. They need all of these things. And so it was really not where I started out for sure. It's been a journey, but I'm so passionate about genetics, where I am today. And I am on the 8th an official full-time corporate dropout. So I do, and I mentioned in the book that I do slightly have a toe in the corporate waters. I am a nutrigenomics specialist for GX Sciences, which means I teach doctors, nurses, other providers how to analyze and use genetic data in their practice. And in the last few months, my own business has been just off the charts. And I really decided I had to think, and get real with myself. Do I want to train these doctors, or do I want to work with these people who really need me and need my support? So I did officially put in my resignation. I am officially real full-time corporate dropout on March 8th. So it's been amazing. And I'm so excited to be on this journey with you guys. I didn't realize, I wrote a chapter and I submitted it, and now it's just getting real, and it's just been so incredibly amazing. So thank you. Thank you, Rai, for setting all of this up.
No, pleasure. And I love that you had the exact same experience I did. I wrote it, I sent it off, and I didn't even think about it again. I actually wrote it on the plane going to Trinidad back in October when my mom was unwell. I wrote it on the plane ride from Miami to Port of Spain. So, and it was crazy because I did it, and I was like, this is the best time to write because you have no interruptions. There's no phones, no pings, no notifications. So I just sat down, got my iPad out, and just, cranked it out. And then I think it was only in the last sort of couple of days where it started to kind of become real. And Taryn and I actually did my author interview for the summit with Taryn earlier this week on Monday, because I knew I'd be traveling toward the end of the week. And I thought, I'm not going to have time to do this. So when she and I started talking and she said, oh, the book's actually out. And I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, I had to put it up on Amazon. She's like, and it's starting to get a bit of a buzz. And I'm like, oh, I said, do we tell people? She's like, no, don't say anything just yet. Just keep it quiet until, like, she's like, because we don't want to, I don't want to jinx it either. So I was like, okay, like, let's just hold tight until Friday and see what happens. And literally Wednesday afternoon, I'm like wrapping up all of my personal care products in masking tape to pack it in my suitcase, and my phone's blowing up with all these messages saying like it's hit bestseller status in Australia, it's hit bestseller status here, and all these multiple categories. And I'm kind of like, what? Like, we're not even doing anything and people are buying it. They're connected to the title. They're connected to that story. It's resonating with them. People who want more out of life. And I don't know if you guys have been hearing about this, but all over LinkedIn, there's this whole great resignation sort of, if you're on LinkedIn, you'd probably be seeing lots of that, because that's obviously a platform around work, and people are not prepared to just do the 9 to 5, prepared to just have the pension and the good insurance or whatever it is that was keeping them in. They're longing for more. And even though it has been a very dark time in history, what's going on in the world right now is a bit of a renaissance. Like, and I've always said that, like when we went into lockdown in March 2020 and everyone was freaking out, I was like, no, this is actually all going to come good. I said, the darkest periods of human history, they always end up springing like the best of humanity in the next phase of it. You've seen it over and over again. So, in the Middle Ages, the Renaissance happened. Then after the Vietnam War, people become more creative. It actually helps, even though we feel like we're being held back, it actually helps us spring forward in our evolution and accelerates growth. So all these setbacks or these challenges, I like using them because, it's how you turn your mess into your message. And that's essentially what the book is about. It's about, well, how do you turn pain or trauma or whatever it is that you're going through in that potentially very toxic environment. For me, it turned out to be very toxic. And I had to figure out, well, it's hurting my body. So what do I need to do in order to not be suffering, struggling anymore? And how can I help other people awaken to the fact that they don't have to do this either? So that was my reasons behind the book and getting involved. And, Piper was actually the one who connected me to Taryn, the publisher, because I said, I really am looking into, I want to find the right publisher. I've been looking around to do this for 2 years now. Like since the whole lockdown, I wanted to do this. And weirdly, it was very serendipitous. I'm in a Facebook group called Brains, and it's a writer's magazine. And Taryn put this post out, and I hadn't actually spoken to her yet. I hadn't connected with her yet, but Piper had said, you should really talk to my friend, this publisher, Taryn. And then one night at 11 p.m., I'm going to bed and I see this post come up just saying, hey, who wants to be involved in this multi-author book project called Corporate Dropouts? It's about your story from employee to entrepreneur. And I'm like, oh my God, I think that's the same Taryn. And I messaged her instantly and she called me. Like we got on the phone. I said, please excuse me. It's 11:30. I'm like in bed. I know it's only first thing in the morning in Australia. I said, but I want to hear more about this book and what you want to do with it. And we had like this wonderful, like hour-long discussion. And, and it didn't matter that I was like lying down. I said, I'm in my bed. I'm so sorry. I'm not professional at all. But that's the beauty of like working for yourself. Like you can work when you want, how you want, in your pajamas, in a bikini. Someone saw me the other day and she said, oh my God, I don't think I've ever seen you in anything but yoga pants and Lululemon. And I said, that's been my dream my whole life, just to basically live in a bikini or yoga pants. And I get to do that now. Like I get to actually do that while helping people and transform lives. So I'm going to stop yappering, on and just hand over to Rai and get her to give us the background into what inspired her to get involved in this project. And bikini life. Exactly. We're seeing some great comments. That's pretty much it. That's the dream, bikini life. Over to you, Rai.
Yeah. I mean, similar to you guys, when I first heard about the project, it was like a no-brainer. It was an instant click for me because, and as you'll see in my chapter, I was kind of always a corporate dropout, and I was trying to force myself into this box that my family and my culture, you gotta get good grades in high school. You've got to get the good college acceptance. You've got to graduate with honors. You've got to get multiple degrees. You've got to get the great job with the secure paycheck and the health insurance and all of that. And everything in me was always pulling me away from that. And there were key points throughout that journey that just told me, this is all wrong. This is all wrong. This is all wrong. And everything was kind of forcing me off of that corporate path. And yet I held tenacious to it because I didn't want to disappoint my family. I didn't want to go against what they always expected of me and that I was actually pretty good at. I was good at school. I was good at getting jobs. And yet all along, I was freelancing, I was hustling on the side. And that is how I put myself through school. Got a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's in professional clinical counseling, and a master's in criminology. Worked in a mental hospital, worked in a community counseling center, worked in a drug rehab facility, all these things. And I was very immersed in the very, unfortunately, corporate mental health world. And then I really hit my breaking point. And it was like this return to who I had always been. And I really got to throw myself fully into what I had always hidden and what I had always done on the side. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I started mentoring the freelance writers on my team within my marketing agency that I had built over 15 some odd years. And that just felt like such a natural extension of who I had always been. And so now I have 2 companies. I have the company that carried me along all the way, allowing me to do my freelance writing and helping other businesses get their message out. And now I also coach and mentor freelance writers, designers, VAs, OBMs, photographers, all the things, anything freelance, anything entrepreneur. I help them build those healthier, happier, more profitable businesses. And it's just that complete middle finger to the whole like employee W-2 kind of way of life, because that's really who I was always meant to be. And now it's funny because this is the perfect week for this book to be coming out, because on Tuesday, my husband, who he works a little bit within my businesses, he does our web development and our email tech setup and things like that. And he came into my office here in our house and he goes, I think I'm ready to quit my job. And he works for a very large company that if I told you who it was, everybody would recognize it because they ship stuff to your door every day. And it was the moment I had been waiting for, because I've been wanting him to quit his job for about 8 years now. We've been together for 10. And I was like, why now? Of all times, why now? And he goes, well, I've been listening to your podcast. And he does the production for my podcast within the Chiron business. And the introduction of the podcast is, I'm going to tell you stories so that you can see what's possible, so that you can never tell yourself that your dreams are impossible. And he said those words back to me, not even realizing that he was quoting the introduction of my podcast. And I'm like, this is it. This is the perfect time for the book, for the podcast, for him, for me, everything. It just all fell into alignment. So getting into Corporate Dropouts, the book, and being a part of this, it was just a natural extension of everything that I am meant to share with people.
Amazing. And so much of what you have said has resonated. And, I talk a lot about the reticular activation system.
Yes.
So when you start looking, so I don't know how many people are familiar with that term. And like you, have an undergrad in psychology, went on to study CBT hypnotherapy because I wanted to understand, well, how do people deal with anxiety in particular and panic and phobias without medication? Because I had seen what medication, psychopharmaceuticals had done to my grandfather. It had caused to atherosclerosis and damaged his brain. And he ended up with dementia way before his time and wasted away, unfortunately. So, seeing what happened in my own family and understanding that, okay, a lot of these ailments that we are told you're just going to have to live with and just take a pill for it, these are all preventable. And there are natural methods that are available that if we tune into them, and you can understand your genetics. I went and I did my genetics too. I wanted to see, and I gave it to my mom and my dad and everyone, because I'm like, let's see, do we have the genes for dementia? And we don't, but we did have the genes for anxiety. And just because you have the gene though, does not mean that you are doomed to it, because there's so much that you can do in your life to set yourself up to make sure that you don't feel that way. There's stuff that you can do from a nutrition perspective, stuff that you can do, from a behavioral perspective, stuff that you can do around your mindset. These are mental muscles that you can grow and train and become and transcend your family story or your history or whatever it is that has been holding you back, limiting you, keeping you in place. And in, being in England for 20 years, like London is a very interesting place. People say, oh, there's no class system, but there totally is. There is definitely, well, how dare you think you can be, jump ahead of the queue in what you want to do? Like, you are in this place, stay in your lane. Don't move out of that lane. Right. So it's been very, very interesting being able to sort of like break some of these ceilings they're invisible, because no one's overtly saying you can't jump out of your lane, but they were definitely there. And in the banking world, even though I was in well-being and HR, there are so many little boxes that people try to put you into. Yeah. And it's interesting to see, like, now, weirdly enough, like on my LinkedIn, all the people that I used to work with, they're all like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can't believe you've done it. You've actually done it. And I said, it's so funny, because when I was working with all of you, nobody was giving me a push up at all. In fact, there was lots of trying to keep you back, which was one of the reasons why I burnt out, because I kept trying to push the needle and wasn't getting the support that I needed, because I was trying to advocate for this personalized approach to and natural methods as well, as opposed to, well, let's just signpost the insurer. And, I'm like, well, that's not actually helping people's health. That's making the insurance company rich. Like, it's not really helping people get well. So, and I really tried to I was trying to do cortisol testing, genetic testing as well, and bringing in IVs into the banking world. And everyone looked at me like I had two heads back in 2011. And meditation. We actually got the meditation to stick. We used to run this thing called Balance at Barclays, which was a weekly mindfulness session. But that was the only thing that really stuck, because they were ready for that. But everything else, it was sort of like, what, sticking people with needles with vitamins? What's that about? No way. We're not doing that at work. And, want to take saliva from people? No, we're not doing that either. So it was, again, it's now, it's 11 years since I started that whole journey, but, and things have moved along, even COVID. I don't want to say thank God for COVID, but in a lot of ways, it has helped people realize there's a lot that you can do just from being at home. You can take better care of yourself from being at home. You can make your own meals. You can schedule your workouts. You can block out time in your calendar. Nobody needs to see what you're doing, because that was one of the things that I was very keen on, trying to show people, like, well, can't you just block out time and say you have a meeting, and the meeting's with yourself, because you need to go and eat. You need to go and make your own food from scratch. And that way you're not opting for convenience, which is just pumping you full of toxic chemicals and processed things that we don't need. So I love the fact that we are part of this movement. It's not a mission anymore. It's a movement. Like, for me, it was a mission, but now it's definitely I can see it like snowballing into this movement. And initially I didn't really get it, because I'm like, oh, I'm just going to write a chapter in a book. And now I'm like, wait, no, this is not just a chapter in a book. This is something that's resonating with people around the world. And, the people that are on this call, like, I know most of you, Sam and I used to work together at Barclays. Becky and I used to work together back in 2002 in London. She was an exchange student from upstate New York, came to London to work. And we've been friends since then. We've maintained a friendship across borders, across oceans. And Bree and I work together now. And then obviously Piper, we've got the FDN crew here too, which is so cool. And people are tuning in. I can see that they're watching on the Facebook Live. So I hope that this, us all being together, talking about the things that moved us, talking about the fact that we never felt like we really fit in anywhere, until now, until we've come home to ourselves. We literally have come home to why we're here, our purpose, our mission. And that is to really create impact and turn people on to the fact that, anything is actually possible. Anything's possible.
Well, and to your point earlier, right, you said that, these challenging times usually inspire and motivate a new, fresh, better phase after that. And to your point about COVID, having those, it was supposed to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks of staying at home that turned into 2 years, having that time really showed people what's important. And for so many people, going to an office, listening to a boss, taking orders, pushing papers, that isn't actually what's important. And even the so-called security of a paycheck and health insurance could be taken away from you like that. And yet, when you go out on your own, you get all those intrinsic things that are more important to you, like your freedom, your time with your loved ones, your health, your sanity. And you can find more stability when you're betting on yourself and you're not asking an employer, please, 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 can I have a paycheck? But you're doing it for yourself and you have only yourself to rely on. That is far more stable, in my opinion, than working for a company.
Absolutely. And I think just already it's been inspirational. And when we talk about the movement, my sister, she has a master's degree, she is a teacher, she writes curriculum. She, during COVID, realized staying home with her son and doing all of these things that she said, this is not for me anymore. She and I put in our resignations on the same day, and she's actually going to become an FDN. So she's halfway through. And so when the book came out this morning, I said, make sure to get a copy. And she messaged me and she's like, as soon as I'm done with FDN, we're writing a cookbook. This is our time. This is what we're doing. And so it really is inspirational. What we're doing is really inspiring other people. And you may not hear it from everybody. They may not be sending you text messages and telling you we're writing a cookbook, but the people out there that are picking up this book, that are reading this book, it is really, truly inspirational for them to see so many other women who've done it and been really successful at it.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited to hear about the cookbook because I feel like there are so many of them out there already. And I don't think the market's saturated. I actually think like we're looking for ones that are going to be, I mean, the idea of writing one for your jeans just excites me already. Just knowing that we've got Piper like working on something like that. That's like super cool. Ray's asking, does Taryn publish cookbooks?
I don't know, but I'm going to ask.
You got to ask because she's done such an amazing job with this launch. You got to ask her.
Yeah, she has. She has worked her butt off to make sure that this has been successful. I'm seeing some great comments in here. I thought I was the only one feeling like I don't fit in. No, we are the other. Like I remember when I was doing literature in school and we had to learn about the other. And I always identified with the person who was outside of society. I'm like, I've never fit in to any of these conventions. Even ending up in corporate was an accident for me because I'd always said, I'll never work in an office. And then it just kind of happened. You know, my psychology degree, you come out of school, you need to make money ASAP. The first thing you can do with it is go into HR, go into an investment bank. You will make quick money. And you do, but then your soul starts to die. It starts dying because it is a very male dominated environment. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, some of the people who have championed me the most have been men, like in that environment, but some also the same people who kind of like held me down have been men as well. So that was interesting to watch that happen. But you know, for the people who are saying they feel like they don't fit in, if you feel like you haven't, you're in the right place. And, you know, you probably are ahead of your time. And that's what I've always sort of like picked up on. I was like, I am thinking way ahead of some of these people. They're stuck in some archaic, something back from the 20s. I don't know what they're thinking. You know, their idea of nutrition as well the idea of nutrition just used to really irritate me because they'd be sending out these questionnaires and then telling people, okay, well, you need to reduce your fat and don't eat salt. And I'm kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe we're sending out like outdated information from 1980. Like we're in the 2000s, in the second decade of it. Come on, let's get up to speed with what's cutting edge, what's actually going to help people and not keep them stuck in this government guidelines. And I'm not anti-government guidelines, but I kind of am because they're crap. I'm sorry. So I kind of talk about that in my chapter. Like, you know, what we've been told is right and what we've been told is acceptable is actually, it's not. It's rooted in things like, you know, I want to say big pharma, big food. Those are the things that, you know, these people are the ones who've been funding some of the research that makes it into government guidelines so that you can still keep buying cereal first thing in the morning. That's just going to give you a sugar high and have you crashing any second. And, you know, you'll be suffering with things like anxiety and depression and being moody and irritable and all the things that, you know, I love talking about the brain and brain health and how food influences that. And everything that I see being pushed from big food or from the government, it's nothing that's actually going to help you perform or thrive. So I'm sorry, I'm going to get off my soapbox in a second. But I see someone else saying here that resonates. Your soul starts dying. Yeah, it does. And that's what burnout is. Yes, there is a physical component to it, but when your soul starts to wither, because you're just kind of like, you're trapped. And that's what it felt like. I was trapped. I was trapped in a mortgage, trapped in a life, hustling, commuting an hour each way, being crammed like a sardine. So I don't know, has anybody actually bought the book yet? Who's on the chat? Anybody bought it? Yes. If you've read my opening line, is about being crammed underneath someone's armpit on the tube and realizing like, what the am I doing? Like, what am I doing? So yeah, and Bree says, and then you get sick. Yes, you burn out and you get sick. That's what happens. And why? And I saw it happen with my mother. She worked her entire life sacrificing for everyone around her and thinking she was going to be able to be, hit 60, enjoy retirement. And then she got sick. And then it was like, okay, now you got cancer. And then all her life's work and savings is going into treatment, and not treatment that actually helps, treatment that, chemo is, it kills you as it kills the cancer. So, so these are, if you want a better way of living, you want more from your life, you want to learn how to actually work with your body and be in alignment with your mission and your soul's desires, please get the book. If you haven't got it, get the book, because it's all about this. It's all about waking up to yourself, coming home to yourself, waking up to your mission, and understanding that anything is possible.
Yeah. And for anybody who's, so many people have said, like, I thought I was the only one. Like, I feel like that too. I resonate with that. And if that's you, the title of my chapter is The Black Sheep Who Became the Alpha Wolf. I felt like the black sheep my entire life. And now I have this community within my business on the Chiron consulting side of people who have always felt that way. And if you feel like that, black sheep, the person who, oh my God, I'm the only one who feels like this, then it's just a signal that you are not on the right path that you're meant to be on. And if you follow your intuition, if you follow your gut, and you follow that thing that is calling to you as this is what you're meant to do with your life, you will find your people, your community, and your purpose in that. And I can't tell you enough, especially if you are about to be a corporate dropout, if you are about to start your own business, do your own venture, whether it's something on the side or it's going to be your full-time thing, just be very cautious about taking all of these gurus online, because our online world, the Instagram, the Facebook, it is full of entrepreneurs who want to teach you how to do it their way. And if you decide to engage in one of those programs, just take it with a grain of salt, because ultimately you are unique and you need a business that is tailored to you, not to anybody else. You need a marketing strategy that's tailored to you. You need an audience and a mission, a service set, a price list that is tailored to you. Nobody else has the answer. People can help you figure out the answer, but it needs to be the answer that comes from you. So I'm off my soapbox now. Thanks.
Love it. Piper, do you want to add anything to that? Because what I think about tailoring to you, like everything is about tuning into what works best for you. And that's the same thing with food. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with meditation.
Yeah. On the topic of burnout, it's really very sad to see that, I specialize in children and families. And for me to see that these children are technically burnt out at 3 and 4 years old. They're burnt out at 6 years old. I've got teenage girls, the teenage girl epidemic right now with the anxiety and the depression, honestly, is unreal. And I don't think it's something that is really talked about. So we're talking about like mental health. And the big topic is really, suicide prevention. But what we're not looking at is all of these factors that happen before that and what we need to do to prevent that, and really talking about those things with these children. So it's definitely really sad to see that we are in this time period where our kids are burnt out before they even get to a career. And that's really where I've come to tailor that. I do look at the genetics, but I'm using it as your roadmap. Like, what do we need to change in your environment? What do your children really need for optimal health? And I think that me being a mom, me working with all the teenagers and the kids that I'm working with actually gives them a good outlook on, you don't have to be in this conventional box. As you grow up, we can do these different things. We can have these different approaches. And, I really think that that's key, that, our younger generation is seeing us as mothers and women and entrepreneurs doing all of these things that our mothers wouldn't do. I mean, I can't even get my own mother to retire. And so really just being able to have the balls to, take the bull by the horn and do it is really empowering. And I think when our younger generation sees that, they have really great role models.
I could not agree with you more. The mental health piece, you just talked about something that is intrinsic to everything that I do. I want to get to people before they burn out. I think it's an old Buddhist expression where they say, we don't want to just keep pulling people out of the river. We want to stop them from falling in, right? And that's my work. My work is like, before you get to that point where you're like flatlining, can we please make sure that we are looking at all the factors, all the weak links in the chain before you get to that point? And whether that's around, your nutrition, whether that's around your thought processes, your mindset, whether that is around some behavioral practices that you might be engaging in, if you're over exercising, which I see a lot of, because I work with a lot of women who are overachievers and they want to do everything, all the things, but not realizing that by trying to do all the things all at once, it's leading to them tanking. Whether that's from their adrenals are tanking, their thyroid hormones, their sex hormones, and then they're ending up with all these, they're in that exhaustive phase that we talk about in FDN, which is technically burnout, right? Yeah. So I love that we're talking about, that looking at mental health and brain health from the perspective of like, okay, well, we're not going far down the road of suicide prevention, but how do we get people to really be focusing on, well, what can I do to take care of me right now, today? Small things, small steps every day, before you kind of fall down into the hole of, you've got a mental an illness or a disorder. Because, Ray, you have worked in institutions, which is something that I have to say, like when I was studying my psychology degree, that was the last thing I had wanted to do. And they said, okay, the routes that you can go down, if you want to become a counseling psychologist, you're going to have to work in an institution. And I was like, hell no, that's the last place I want to go. And when positive psychology came about and, the whole, that whole movement around like human flourishing and thriving, I was like, okay, this is so much more my jam than having to work with illness and disorder. So, I loved the idea of positive organizational behavior and changing your mindset and actually, flexing mental muscles and learning how to build them and develop them rather than going down the route of, okay, where people are sick. I don't, I want to help people before they get sick. Yeah. So, and I love that Piper does that. I love that you do that. And I love that this book is about that. It's about like, well, know yourself, know your body, know how you think, know how you react, know that you feel like you are an alien amongst the people around you. Like I felt like that my whole life until now. Like I now feel like I have found my people. And Ray, you said that. You said, the right people will start to gravitate toward you. You become magnetic then to the people who are meant to be in your life, to your soul tribe, because I call them that. I was like, these are the people in my soul tribe. And I don't know if anybody's ever read, I think it's the Celestine Prophecy. That was one of my first, that was one of my best books. Like when I was growing up, I was 16 and I read it and I was like madly in love with it because it talks all about like finding your soul tribe and, the people who are being born into the world, even though you might be coming through your physical family, there'll be other people that you're going to gravitate to that are going to help accelerate your spiritual growth and your personal growth. And, that was probably one of those, they say books change lives. And that was one of the books that definitely changed my life. And, I was young, I was only 16. So, and it's still one of those things that I travel around with books. So I move around the world and I take books with me everywhere, which makes people think I'm crazy because I'll have like a whole suitcase dedicated just to books and shoes. So books and shoes tend to come with me everywhere I go. And I don't like parting with them. And they're like, well, you could just get a Kindle. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but there's something physical, you know, like you remember when you can smell your book, you've got a page that's dog-eared because you have read it so many times, you've bent it over and you're like, I need to come back to that. You know, there's something physical about books that is very, very visceral. Like it hits you either in your gut or your heart or wherever it is that it hits you. For me, it's usually like my gut. Like sometimes I read something like, whoa, that just got me. So I'm hoping that our book does that for you. We're probably not going to stay on here for much longer. I don't have any more words. I'm kind of exhausted from all of it. I'm be honest, the last 2 days of getting ready to traveling, getting here, have not been, hi Tara. That's okay. So my sister's here, my cousin's here. This is kind of cool. Very, very cool. Yay. You guys can turn your cameras on. We would like to see you. Can we see everyone?
Right. Yeah. That book changed my life too. And I was probably about 16 when I read it. And now that I'm like, nothing happens by coincidence. So here we are.
And
nothing happens by coincidence.
Look at that. Like, that was a book that really was sort of like, it was transformational and seminal and like developing all of us. And we all work on the brain and we all work on, you know, it's very, very interesting that the three of us have come together here. And Rai, your name, people call me Rai too. So I just thought that was so cute. Yeah. Oh, have we frozen?
But yeah, I mean, building on what you guys are saying, specifically with regard to burnout and mental health, and just with people feeling so unhappy and dissatisfied in their lives, I worked for many, many years in the mental health field, and I have never seen anything, not a prescription drug, not a cognitive behavioral therapy, not any kind of treatment modality that even holds a candle to people really taking control of their lives. And when I see someone having anxiety, having depression, struggling to form healthy relationships, my brain now immediately does not go to, oh, you need to see a therapist. Oh, you need to be on Prozac. No, hell no. There's something in your life where you are not living in alignment. You are not doing what you're meant to be doing. You are out of integrity with what your soul really wants to be doing. That's why you're having these ongoing problems. And yes, it's a very complex situation with genetics and nutrition and environment and all of that. But I guarantee you that soul purpose, that you doing something that fulfills you and lights you up, that is the quickest remedy I have ever seen for any mental health issue.
100%. There is a quote that I can't remember who said it, but I quote it often. I say burnout is the starving soul. Yeah. That's what that is. So you were just saying, you know, depression, anxiety, these are people who are not doing what they're meant to be doing necessarily, you know, or who have been forced into doing things or suffering from a trauma that they've gotten stuck in and they haven't moved on from and haven't resolved it. So I love that you've just said that, you know, there's no pill, no Prozac, no therapy that's going to solve that. Exactly. One of the reasons I actually love coaching is because, you know, I've been on both sides of that therapeutic. I've been a therapist and I've been a patient. And what was interesting to me is like when I started learning about coaching and actually practicing as a coach, because in my coaching training, we had to do 6 months of coaching and being coached. And it actually helped me get out of the relationship that I was in at the time, because while I was going through it, I realized like, wait a second, the reason that I'm so burnt out and stuff, yes, the job was definitely not helping me, but the person that I'm with is definitely not helping me. Like I'm struggling having to take care of him and trying to take care of myself. And, you know, a lot of things happened and shifted for me just through that coaching process, because it was so transformational, much more so than therapy, because I find, well, personally, what I have seen with therapy, and for people who end up coming to work with me, they all say the same thing. They're like, oh my God, this is so refreshing. I am not reopening my wound every time I come to see you. Yeah. I am not rehashing the past and getting stuck in like, oh, well, did your father do this? Or did your mother do that? Or reliving their trauma. We're actually like, okay, where do you want to get to? And then what are the steps that we're going to take to get you there? Because I use the 7 habits of highly successful people. If anybody has not read Stephen Covey's book, please go out and read that one too. It's a great book. I use it to structure my entire coaching program. Obviously, there's the nutrition aspect, but in terms of the mindset piece, we begin with the end in mind. So what is the vision of what you want where you want to get to, who do you want to be. And I use visualization and hypnosis to help people get there from the outset. And then we build in things like nutrition, and we build in some of the other things. So the mindset aspect, and that creating a compelling future aspect, which is what Tony Robbins uses all the time. And I said, oh, that's what we do. We call it, tapping into your inner power, your inner sage, your inner wisdom, and who is that person that you want to turn into or step into. And it's really, it's very, very transformational when people start to actually think, well, what would it be like if I no longer felt this way, thought this way, lived in this certain way? And if I started moving into like, well, how much space would it free up? How many dreams would I be able to achieve? What would it allow me and empower me to do if I let go of some of these old habits, old behaviors, old toxic thoughts, old routines? So, visualization, creating a compelling future, that's all part and parcel of, well, you don't want to get stuck in your old story. What's the new story that you are creating? And I think that's what I hope that people are going to see from this book, that you can start creating a new story today. Like, it doesn't have to be very long. So we've done the multi-author thing. I feel like each of us now has got the impetus to go on and do the full, like, yeah, same. Like, because for me, like, I've already started it. I wrote the book outline a couple of weeks ago, and I've started putting it all together. And I'm like, I want to have this next one done in like 3 months, because I'm just excited about it. Like, and now it's all I can think about. I'm like, I want to clear my entire schedule so I have nothing else to do but write it. So
I've committed to it. Taryn is going to be publishing my tic disorders book. I do not have a working title. I've had it written. It's been sitting here, and I've just been sitting on it. And I guess I was just waiting for the right time. And so I did. I sent it to Taryn. She looked at it. She goes, let's do this. So I'm doing it.
Likewise.
Congratulations. Wow. Yay.
I'm doing mine too. Mine's on business building and marrying the business savvy tactics of a freelancing life with manifestation and energetics and the power of your mind. And all of that comes from both the kind of like energetic spiritual side as well as the scientific side. I love pulling in the science of manifestation. So I am probably not as excited as you two seem to be, though, because this whole experience for my introverted heart has just been overwhelming and in a really wonderful way. But I have to kind of brace myself and mentally prepare myself to have a solo book, because this I get to share with all of you. And we get to kind of share the spotlight and share the responsibilities and share all of that energy. And then when you do a solo book, holy shit, that's going to be a whole other thing. So I will be watching you guys and learning from your experiences and using your amazing book launches as inspiration to get mine out there as well. It's going to take some concerted effort.
It takes a village. It takes a village. So I think the fact that we've all been part of this together, and this is why I did it. I said, before I commit to doing the full length, I need to see and experience what this feels like first, so I get some sort of like idea of like, what's it going to be, how much energy I'm going to have to put in and commit and all that sort of stuff. And now that I've done it, I'm like, it's a joy. It is it was pretty overwhelming yesterday. I'm like getting on the plane, and I'm getting all these messages, my messages just blowing up, and I'm like, okay, like I need a minute. I need Wi-Fi first of all, because I don't have any. And I felt like I was missing out, and I don't want to burn out doing those things either. But yeah, so I'm excited for you. I'm excited for both of you and your solo books. And I love the idea of manifestation and energetics and the science behind that, and that being worked into how you build a business. Mine is going to be a manual. I am collating, the last 12 years of well-being and my experience in that world, as well as, some case studies of clients who, we just talked about some of it, like the visualization aspect and how to, it's almost like you get to work with me one-to-one, but if you can't, you've got this book, this manual to go through it, go through the process, go through diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and use all the items and dress and find your hidden stressors. So lots of self-assessment is going to be built into it. So I'm excited about it. I already have quite a lot of it done. And I think, oh my God, I can actually get this done in the next couple of months, like while I'm in Mexico. So it's exciting. Now, Piper's just asked a great question. Does anyone have questions? Because that's what we wanted you guys to be on here to share with us. Like, I know some of us are family, some are really good friends. Do you guys have questions? Anyone? you please feel free to unmute. You can reveal your faces as well. We would like seeing faces. Buddy's showing us his face. Nice to see you.
I do this so much live, it's ridiculous. So this is just like, I don't know what I would do if we all set up in a coffee shop somewhere. I would be awkward because Zoom has become the thing to do. So,
A man of the modern world.
hey, you can ask Piper. When it comes to techie stuff, it's like, I don't want to write a book. I want an app.
Give me an app that writes my book for me.
It's actually called, there's an app.
Yeah, I do. I want an app for my business. And so I'm seriously pushing hard because it's one of the best, ways. So I'm following y'all's lead. I'm reading all the books and the Joe Dispenzas and the Tony Robbins and all that kind of stuff. But hey, I'm proud of you guys. I'm absolutely proud. I love to see the females finally, getting out there and doing what they need to do.
He really wants to say kicking ass. So
you can say kicking ass.
You can say that?
Yeah, like
I've been cussing.
I don't just use kicking ass. I throw an F-bomb in there. Piper knows me.
Buddy, there are no filters here, like none. Like that's one of the things about all of us, and you'll probably find a few F-bombs in the book. So
well,
it's all good.
Look, it needs to be said, but I mean, let's just be brutally honest. There's a cliche out there, and there's an adage that we all hear about. And, like behind every successful man is a good woman and all that other kind of stuff. There's a lot of truth to that. But more importantly, if you really give, and I do this with my wife and with Piper, any female that's in my life, the reality is the women have this really perfect intuition. And if you let them do what, hey, their creator intended them to do, they save a lot of men a lot of time and effort. They do.
I love this guy.
But the men have got to get their ass out of the way and listen. Seriously, I mean, it's like when you really think about here, I'll throw this out there, and then I'm a spiritual person, but I'm not like religious person. But I thought it was so interesting and I said a long time ago, about 5-6 years ago, this philosopher, he's like, don't you find it interesting that if you read the Bible for just what it is and the story of creation, that God went from big, small, and built ecosystems, right? And then finally on the last day, we got Adam, but his actual last creation was you. That's the reality of man is one step, male is one step up in the lineage of creation, the actual final. And if you look at creation as well, it's all perfection, right? It's perfect. It gets better and better and better and better. And so you guys are his last final crown jewel of the creator. And I'm like, that's where I put my wife on her pedestal. Anybody that's in my life, I put you guys there. Hey, I love the way you guys are doing things and teaming up, doing things, kicking butt, taking names, kicking ass. Yes, you're right. But showing for what you're really, I mean, the reality is you've been there all along. You just never been able to have a voice. And today we live in such a great society. I do believe since COVID and everything else, it's a much better society when it comes to this kind of stuff, because you girls are turning around and going, hey, I got girl power. We've known it all along, but the girl power is there and it's shining bright. And I just love it. I do. I just love it. So kudos.
Thank you.
Way to go.
Thank you. Thank you. I wish it was 5:00 because then I'd feel justified.
I know, that was a toasting moment, wasn't it?
I did say I was having a mimosa, but
in the same breath, what do you need that shit for? What do you need a time on the wall to tell you it's time to have a freaking bourbon or whatever? Just open the freaking thing.
My sister says it's 5:00 somewhere. She's right. She's totally right. It's actually 5:00 in England. So very exciting. Really, really exciting. Actually, it's nearly 6, so it's definitely happy hour. But you're right. We don't need that. But you guys, thank you so much for hanging with us. I'm seeing some wonderful comments here. Great questions. Sam was asking, does she need a coach? From my experience, I have always had a coach. Always. The minute I decided I was going to walk away from the whole corporate thing, I've had multiple coaches over the years as well. So you can have a coach for different things. You can have a coach to help you manage your social media. You can have a coach to help you, tune into your intuition. So you can have different coaches, different mentors at different times for different seasons and different experiences. So you might not have one coach that can do everything, but you can find different coaches at different times to help you in wherever you feel like, you need courage and inspiration.
Yeah.
So,
and I would say, I firmly believe that everybody is fully capable of achieving whatever they want on their own if they set their mind to it. A coach helps you get there faster. A coach helps you skip over all of the, what do they call it? Trial and error, and helps you find the solutions that are going to be a right fit for you quicker so that you can get to those goals that you want faster, so you can have more impact in your life sooner. That's when you should hire a coach, in my opinion.
any final words, Piper?
Thank you guys for joining us. This has really been, yesterday was kind of the start of the journey. It's only going to get bigger from here and greater from here. And I know that we're going to get updates throughout the day. So I am just honored to be a #1 international best-selling author with you guys. Like, so awesome, so mind-blowing. I'm over the moon. And so thank you for scheduling this day and setting this up. And definitely going to meet up with Rai in Lubbock when we're there. So
yes,
thank you guys.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you for all our friends, our families, our people who don't even know us, who are supporting us. I just want to say thank you to all of you for coming here and joining us. And if you have purchased your copy on Kindle, I recommend that you actually take a screenshot of it and pop it into the Facebook group. There's like an event that I created. If you're in Piper's pod, you can put it into her event as well. But if you're in my pod, take a screenshot so we can see, because we're entering people into a prize draw so that they can get hard copies of the book, signed hard copies sent to them. So isn't that exciting? So please take a screenshot if you purchased your Kindle version and put it into the Facebook event. And we will be keeping you updated. We've got a couple of messengers that are going on in the back end, different threads happening. And it's going to be a pretty hectic day from my point of view. I don't know about you guys. I feel like I do need a massage, but I've been lugging bags around all of yesterday. But and a mimosa. But thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Piper and Rai, for being incredibly inspiring and for being part of this.
Thanks, ladies. And just a reminder to everybody, all the proceeds from the book sales do go to the Village Enterprise, which is a nonprofit organization that helps set up sustainable entrepreneurial businesses in Africa.